I'm going to try to be brief. One reason, the bad news is I have a 4:50 flight. But the good news is I'm flying Delta, so I don't think I have to worry. So I am a dad and a husband. I'm an associate member of the Syracuse Teachers Association, Local 02999, and I'm a former union president at the West Genesee Teachers Association, Local 3106. I was an AP Biology and Chemistry and 15-to-1 living environment teacher for almost 30 years. My wife, Jennifer Brady Mannion, has been an elementary teacher and a reading interventionist, teaching at almost every grade level. She's worked for the West Genesee Central School District. She now works for the Syracuse City School District, and she is what makes me an associate member of NYSET and AFT. I love yous too. I am from New York, so I loved my job. It is, as many of you know, the most gratifying job that you can have, the most rewarding job that you can have, and in some ways the most challenging job that you can have. And I was more than happy to raise our kids together and teach and enjoy the relationships that I had with those students. And the relationships that we had were among students that crossed, and their families, all political backgrounds. There were things that frustrated me as a teacher. They had to do with 3 through 8 testing and changes in New York State to the teacher evaluation system that was illogical and punitive. And also, there was something in New York State called gap elimination adjustment, which meant there is a budget gap. And how we are going to eliminate it is to take the money that we were supposed to give to the public schools and claw it back. I couldn't watch it anymore. I ran for union president, and I won, and I was proud to represent 400 members over the course of 8 years. My membership was mostly teachers, but I also represented nurses and school psychologists and social workers. We did a lot of good things, revitalized our union. Our first contract, we had ratified 366-0. And I was fine being a union president and still teaching in the classroom, but things were continuing to change. As Melinda mentioned, I was part of something called the Member Organizing Institute. And I got there because in New York State, there was something called the Constitutional Convention. Every 20 years, it shows up on the ballot. It's going to open up the Constitution, but one thing we were concerned about was that protections for our pension and other workplace and organizing rights are enshrined there. The message from the other side was, we got to do this. This is how we reform government. But we knew the real intent of that. Early polling showed that it was 60-40 to open up the Constitution and put our pensions at risk. But NYSET and AFT and other unions collectively went to the doors, knocked on those doors and talked to people. I was one of those people. And when we got to the end on Election Day, instead of 60-40 in favor of opening it up, the people voted no. They voted no 83% to 17%. But that was not the best part of that organizing and door-knocking event for me. I went to a door of a woman. We had a great conversation. She was a union member. We talked about how it was necessary to vote no on that proposition. And as I was walking away, she said, "John Mannion, are you related to Jack Mannion?" and my dad was a Jack Mannion, and there's some other Jack Mannions in Syracuse. But she was talking about my son. See, she worked in a classroom with my boy Jack. Jack had autism, delayed echolalia, toe walking, and a series or a litany of other atypical behaviors. But it was teachers and strong advocates as parents and people like Cheryl, when I was at her door, who shared with me that she worked in the same classroom as my son Jack. And I got to tell her that that boy, who's now a man, graduated from college, lives independently, purchased his own car, drives his own car. I hope he's picking me up at the airport tonight. I'm not elected yet, right? No, so in my story, I'm not elected yet. But there was a seat in the New York State Senate that was held by Republicans for 100 years. And someone retired. And it was my nicest political organizer that came to me and said, "You got to run for this seat." And 100 years is a long time. But I knew what I had behind me. I had my union family behind me. I knew that my union members would be there for me. And because of the phone calls and the door knocking, some people would contact us and go, "John, Jennifer, if I get another call, I'm not voting for you." Because they would get 6 and 7 and 8 calls. But we flipped that seat. Then we got redistricted in 2022 to a district that had more registered Republicans than Democrats. And I won that race. 125,000 votes cast. I won by 10 votes. 10 votes. So if you think every vote doesn't count, it does. And if you think every phone call and door knock doesn't count, it absolutely does. I got elected to the New York State Senate. And in those 4 years, go back to what I said before, what we changed was we fully funded the foundation aid formula, and there is no more gap elimination adjustment. We have made sure that there's a de-emphasis on the 3 through 8 standardized testing, and this year, with the help of NYSET and AFT and my colleagues in the Senate and the Assembly and the governor, we have rejected and repealed an abusive, illogical, and unnecessary evaluation system that hurt teachers and hurt children. Woo! Go Cuse. Another thing that pushed me to run for office was the 2016 election. My children were about my students' age, juniors in high school. This might be the first election that they were ever really, truly engaged in, paying attention to. And they saw something that I had never seen in my lifetime, and I did not want them to think that that was normal. Again, not only did I teach kids from every political background and their family members, I had my own membership that crossed every political background. In the classroom, you have to lead with calmness, but assertiveness. If you're in chaos, those kids are in chaos. Well, this country's in chaos. And we need a little teaching. Somebody has to change the paradigm because it's unsustainable. And it was the 2016 election that caused me to run for New York State Senate, and it still is that today that has caused me or pushed me to run for Congress. I dealt with juvenile behavior for almost 30 years in a classroom. I know a little something about classroom management. So I thank you all for a few minutes. I could feel the Uber update on my phone. I want to thank my wife for her support. We've been married for 27 years. We dedicated our lives to public service, and we know how important this moment is. And I thank all of you for not just teaching or working in healthcare or otherwise, but for doing even more to represent the people that you work with and the people that you care about. I'm a proud union member. I come from a family of union members, and I won some elections that no one ever thought possible. And I won them because of a simple phrase that you're going to repeat with me. When union members vote, union members win. 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 And we're gonna win.